Hey, everybody, and thank you for joining us again here on Wish You Were Beer, a live weekly beer review show. I don't normally start the show this way, but Gabriel's back, and I feel like it involves me pointing that out because I don't know where he's been. But I'm so happy to have him back. This is a once a week show where we try out new beers. We hope to get some history and some guests on from breweries and go through their beers and their processes and just get a chance to talk to people who like beer as much as we do. So if you go down to the about and comment section and all that fun stuff, you can follow us in all the different social media channels, which I'm sure everyone's familiar with. You can also follow us on Untapped, which is where we use to check in our beers, either individually or for the show as well. So you can find out what time everybody drinks beer on a weekend. Nope. And you can also, so the beer that we're doing today, we got from Tavour. If you're not familiar, it's a great setup. It's beer delivered to your house. It's a subscription-based service. You can pick and choose and cut and paste. We use that amongst some other ones as well. So make sure you give them a ring, try them out. If you like beer, which seems like
I think that's why you'd be here. I don't know.
Or just.
I mean, Gabriel's boredom. Just here.
Just pure boredom.
Just pure boredom.
Okay.
And we're on Twitter now.
We are.
Oh, that's true. We are on Twitter.
We finally convinced Daniel to run one of the social media accounts.
As most of you know who have been around a little while, I do nothing. And so now I've been tasked with Twitter, which I enjoy more than most social medias, so I'm excited for that.
You literally got mad at me today because I didn't like one of his tweets.
True story. I was upset about that.
And I literally went back through and I was like, oh, hey, bud, I liked them all. Not sure what you're talking about. It turns out it was like a reply to something. And I was like,
I was having a musical argument with another stranger. And
I also saw that.
Okay, good. Yeah, okay, good.
I did not. Sorry, some of us were working.
I love it. I'm sorry, everyone. I'm Daniel. This is Tiffany, and Phil is in prison, but he's still Phil.
I got moved to a new prison. This one's a little more echoey. It's kind of a dungeon now. So we'll see how this goes.
I just love that you're like on death row, and they left you 2 Talea beers.
Yeah,
like here we go.
That's what I asked for.
Yeah, that was my last meal.
And they took away my artwork. So
I noticed that.
You know what? I'm just going crazy down here. So I apologize for the echo, but
I want to make a nobody puts Phil in a corner joke, but the corner is so blatant.
It's literally right here. Weatherman style.
True story.
It was good.
So I have officially moved in. I'm in Los Angeles now. I'm locked in. I'm in an empty room, and in case that wasn't apparent. And yeah, so it kind of feels weird to finally like lock in and not travel with a car full of beer.
I think that's my favorite part is that you made it clean across the United States, and there were some beers you picked up here on the East Coast with us that somehow made it all the way, and we still drank.
Yeah, they probably weren't. Probably those scores might have been affected a little bit by that.
So.
Mainly as you went through Texas, the scores went down, and then they came back up as you cleared it.
That's what happens.
I have so many comments that I'm going to just...
I know.
compartmentalize those and put them away for now.
So how are you two doing?
Good.
Yeah, we're good. We have a busy weekend coming up, so we're going to be guest
involve drinking beer.
Yeah, we have a lot of things going on.
So we're gonna be guest pouring at a local college's
William and Mary's
homecoming football game, and we're gonna be guest pouring for Virginia Beer Company. So we're gonna be pouring beer for like 5 hours at a college football game.
I love that the brewery is calling it a guest.
Yep.
But really, I found 2 people to pour beer for us.
Yes, who will obviously drink 1 beer and pour 1 beer, and they're like, we don't have to pay you. And we're like, nope.
Well, that sounds like fun.
Yeah. And then Sunday we're going to shoot a promo video for another brewery here in the area who's got a similar style event coming up in the next couple of weeks that we just did at the Billsburg one.
I was going to say, not a football thing.
Yeah,
it's one of their own events.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
So... And by that, I mean, you're going to have a busy weekend as well because you'll be editing everything that we send you.
Yeah.
So have a good weekend, Phil.
Don't worry. I have nothing up to distract me here in this empty room. So
obviously, this looks like the backdrop of the worst Ren and Stimpy cartoon ever. Just for the record.
I love when we age ourselves with references.
Yeah. My first response was when we got like chosen. I say chosen.
We were chosen.
It's like a Toy Story thing, but also very dated. But I was super excited because I was like, oh my gosh, like we have a very specific age range of people. It's pretty much our own. I was like, we might be able to tap into like the college kid age range with beer drinkers. Like, I don't know, maybe, but
no.
I think it'll be interesting to see if there's like a serious college, like kids who don't just drink the usual suspects. They want the Virginia beer companies like.
Oh, I think it's available. I mean, I think that demographic exists to some degree, but
it's also a like law school.
Yeah, it's a like post-grad law school.
Well, I mean, they have both. They have regular and.
I know,
but anyway,
nobody goes to William & Mary for theater, is what I'm getting at.
Well, guys and ladies, it's our 30th episode.
This is true.
So for
Did
some
you think
reason,
we make it 30 episodes?
No.
Absolutely not.
No, I thought this would be like a few different like episodes, and then one of us would like have a scheduling conflict or just forget to log in.
Correct.
Or
100%. It either is great because it means that we are having such a good time, or it's terrible because we have no other friends or life.
Or it could be just because we're best buddies.
Budweiser is a friend of mine. Friend of mine is a friend of mine.
I'm just kidding. Okay.
You're not supposed to be clicking stuff in there.
I love it. So Phil messed up and allowed me to know where these things are. / I found them on my own, which means I get to cut Phil off all the time.
So for those of you that have been following us, that is a clip from our Murica show.
Our 4th of July show.
And it is one of the original ads for Budweiser that I found on the internet. And I was very excited. I sent it to Phil, and it has been a mistake ever since.
Yes.
And now Daniel knows where it is. So
enjoy this episode.
I am so thankful that tonight we are drinking a beer that tastes probably so much better.
No, there's no doubt. Yeah,
I don't even know why you'd say probably in that.
Hey, we haven't had it yet. I haven't had the beer yet. Can't say anything yet.
What? I mean, yours aren't even in koozies. They're going to sit here the whole show. Like, ours are in koozies.
They're very cold. I have a very empty fridge. So
that makes sense. God, you're getting so thin. Well, that being said, what are we doing? Come on.
So we are doing 2 beers, but mostly we're just going to kind of feature one of Sun Up from Talea. And we are also doing their Plumberry Tart Deco. And I love these cans, and that's like kind of one of their things. So we'll talk about it. And that's also Phil's thing. I'm not allowed to talk about can art. That is.
That's Phil's demographic.
Yeah. Started out by calling out John Mallet and his awful can art for the Two Hearted Ale, and
Like,
it's not
one of
stopped.
the beer's #1 like nationwide beer,
Right.
But the can art, I'd never buy it in a grocery store.
You two know we have a guest on tonight. They don't need to know that I called someone out.
I just love the
face.
idea now Tara's nervous. It's like, oh god.
So with that, we do have Tara. She is one of the co-founders of Talea here to talk to us.
Bring
Bring
her in.
her in. Yay. Hey, Tara.
Hi, everyone.
Welcome to the show. Thank you for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited to taste or watch you all taste, especially since you're not in the New York City area. And besides Tavour, we don't distribute outside of New York State. So, it's interesting to see what people who've been tasting craft beer in other regions that might have, particular styles or lead breweries that just also don't distribute in New York. So the cross-pollination is interesting.
Oh, that's such a
the styles are
that's
different,
such a
but-
great term for like Tavour and other things that have happened now with the beer trade, and like when you know people and you just send them a beer. The cross-pollination of craft beer is amazing. It's one of my favorite hobbies.
Cross-pollinating?
Beer.
Oh,
Cross-pollinating beer. I need to make sure we preface that. I apologize.
I was concerned.
Yes.
But
So
yeah.
where in New York are you?
I live in Greenpoint, which is in North Brooklyn. Our brewery and tap room is in Williamsburg, which is about 2 miles south of where I live, just across the East River from Manhattan. So we started the company in New York City, always knew we wanted to build a brewery and tap room in New York City, and our beer's always been brewed in New York City. We started out contract brewing in the Bronx in April 2019, and then opened our facility in Williamsburg in March. Well, in this year.
You're good, because
this year.
This is people listening to see if they actually.
This is my favorite, because if you follow along with us, obviously we're gonna get into some trivia here soon.
Yeah.
And it's almost every episode when we have a guest on, somehow most of the time it's me asking a dumb question that leads into giving one of the answers, because I haven't seen trivia.
No.
But then we just find out who's actually been listening when the comments come along as to who answers it correctly.
Always Vero.
It's 100%.
Who actually was the one who recommended your brewery to us in the first place.
Yeah.
She's been there a couple times and loves all of your beer and like the ambiance and the space, and so she's kind of one of our like. She's like running. She's like what do you call it? The back help with. She does like our website, and like she wrote all of our bios and stuff.
Is how she would like to be described.
She has watched all 30 episodes, which is amazing.
And she watched our first episode, like our not even pilot, where we were kind of like, well, I don't know, is this even going to work? Does our microphones work? Do we have a camera that works? So she watched that episode of us pretending to drink the same beer.
Oh yeah, that's true. I forgot about that.
So she is a huge supporter of your beer. Yeah. So and it's probably the reason why it's on the table right now. So we're very excited about it.
100%. But
so if you're, without ruining trivia, because again, I haven't seen it, are you from the city originally, or where are you from originally?
I grew up in Pennsylvania, but my parents grew up in New York City. So I moved here after college, and my co-founder, Leanne, she grew up in Ohio, outside of Cincinnati, and then she went to the Naval Academy in Annapolis. So she lived all over after that. Yeah. But we met working at a beer e-commerce startup here in New York City that she had relocated from the West Coast to the East Coast. Sort of similar to Tavour, but not really. It was beer on tap at home. So mini kegs being shipped to your home, and then the countertop draft appliance. It was called Hopsy. Yeah. And we met there. She was the head of finance, and I was the head. She had been there a year when they were expanding and hired me as the head of customer experience. And we pretty quickly realized that we had found ourselves working in a craft beer startup for the same reason, which is we both wanted to start breweries, but we weren't sure how to go from professional careers. And we both have MBAs to getting into, the nitty gritty of actually starting a brewery. But so the Talea was born here in New York City, and now about 3.5 years after we met, we're, up and running.
Yes, which is amazing. I also always talk to Daniel about it'd be awesome. Like, we just started our own brewery and left our jobs. And so that's always one of the questions I ask is how was that? Because that is probably one of the most terrifying things to me of leaving. Yeah. Especially in a similar industry that you were probably in beforehand, of just dropping the safety net essentially of, what I'm doing, and just kind of keeping my fingers crossed. So, I mean, what was your experience with that? Did you, I know I've read so many interviews and things that you've talked about this, but I'm trying to not spill secrets. But yeah, how was that? What good and bad?
Well, we both, after business school, I got a job in management consulting and sort of tried to position myself in the most competitive field, highest paying field I could get into after getting my MBA, and then worked in marketing at the New York Times, which is, still a big company, but not as competitive, not as high paying, not as structured as consulting. And then moved to Hopsy, which was, even more fluid, less defined, and lower paying as a startup. So
I feel like you worked a little bit backwards initially, which seems crazy to me.
Oh yeah, and then our salaries went down to zero, of course, when we quit our jobs to start selling our first beer. But I still think of it that way now, where like every month or two that goes past, your tolerance for risk increases, and you just keep putting one foot in front of the other, and eventually, I mean, it's silly to say eventually you find yourself owning a brewery that's making, targeting to make millions of dollars a year. It doesn't quite happen that way, but I do think starting small and what's feasible, and then like it started with this concept of I had worked at a winery in the summer after business school and felt like there weren't any breweries that were really speaking to the same demographic or having a similar experience. And so when Leanne and I met, we first just wanted to make one beer and make it like the perfect pale ale with great packaging and get it on the shelf at Whole Foods. But the more research you do, you realize like that's not going to pay your bills, let alone be able to make you be able to build a company. And so then you sort of up the ante, and over time we just, I guess, organically grew the vision as we saw it getting traction as well. So we knew we needed to build a brick and mortar and have a direct to consumer component, which I think Tavor has done an amazing job with direct to consumer shipping beer, but it's really complicated to ship beer. And we knew that from our prior job. So for us, the direct to consumer model is having a physical space where you can sell a draft pour across the bar and you're making all the margin that the accounts who buy wholesale would make. It's like a vertically integrated bar where you're brewing on site and serving it to customers on site. And we serve beer flights, which are $20 for 4 or 5 ounce pours. So it's really lucrative. I mean, it's a pain in the ass to pour 4 or 5 glasses of tasters.
Well, it's always crazy to me too when we talk to people, because like you're in New York, so like when we talk about like the margins of stuff or like a $20 flight, like down here, like a $20 flight is like you can get 10 5-ounce pours for $20, but the price,
the cost of living.
So you said $20 flight, I was like, that's really lucrative. But I'm like, oh wait, New York, never mind. I remember now.
Yeah. Well, if you saw our rent,
right? Yeah, exactly.
Like, there's a reason that prices are like that.
It's so crazy.
But, yeah, I remember I was talking to Vera about that recently because she lives up there, obviously, and I was like, I don't know how you afford anything.
Yeah. Well, and honestly, I think you're direct to consumer. Like when you talk about pouring over the bar top, New York's a great spot for that because you can get so much foot traffic versus some of these places that like we've had on the show before that are maybe out in the middle of nowhere, or maybe out some other places. You've got to ship. You've got to to get those same returns. You can pour beer over the bar and have heavy foot traffic through the door almost every day, I would think, in New York City.
And apparently you can add an extra one for a couple of dollars.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, $4 for your 5th pour. So
nice.
I mean, it's for sure expensive, and to be honest, yes, you can get. There's a very dense, it's residentially dense in a lot of places where breweries are located in New York City, but at the same time, New York State is a very brewery friendly state, but the zoning in New York City, to even be able to build a brewery, you have to find industrial or mixed use space. And that's usually on the fringes of neighborhoods. Yep. So a lot of breweries like Three's Brewing and Other Half are in Gowanus, which really was just a manufacturing neighborhood until the last, probably 5 years, 5 or 8 years. So we are in Williamsburg, which is a really, relative to the rest of Brooklyn and New York City, wealthy neighborhood with a lot of people who are in their 20s and 30s who commute into the city or have, more traditional office jobs, but we're still not, like, we could never find a 9,000 square foot space that would even make sense to build in. So it's funny because it's like, yes, you can get foot traffic, but you can't build a real brewery in Times Square. So it's not always.
Yeah.
It's still hard, even with
Yeah.
11 million people that live in New York City or whatever it is.
Oh,
a
for
lot.
sure.
There's a lot. So earlier you mentioned like building your vision out for beer. It's unique, and it's kind of one of the things that I think sets your like brewery and kind of what you're building out unique. And not just because it's like women owned and like women driven, but it's nothing I've really seen at other breweries. So one, I guess, share with probably Daniel because he didn't do any research.
I told you this is my shtick. I don't do anything.
It's just Twitter now.
I'm just excited you'll talk to me. So continue. Go ahead.
Okay, we got a cold elevator pitch then.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, so our mission is to grow the craft beer consumer base by being approachable and inclusive. And the way we do that is we brew beers that we describe as easy to love. So generally, most of our beers are low in bitterness. They're fruit forward. They have flavor profiles that mirror wine or cocktails. We do have a West Coast IPA. We do have an Italian style Pilsner, but the wheelhouse of our beers are hazy IPAs with only dry hopping, no bittering hops, and fruited sours and heavily fruited sours. So the majority of our sours have a fruiting rate of 2.25 pounds per gallon, which is a lot of fruit. It makes them very expensive, but for someone who said like Plumberry Tart Deco that you're going to sample, for someone who says I don't like beer, I would say, do you like slushies? Do you like pina coladas? You will like this beer.
Right.
And that mission, expanding craft beer, extends both to our consumers. So women are the fastest growing segment in craft beer, but most women, when you survey them, are frustrated by craft beer brands that just treat women as an afterthought because the typical craft beer consumer isn't a woman. Right. And that inclusivity also extends to staffing. So we have a staff that's 80% non-male and 40% LGBTQIA+. So we want to create a space that is drawing people who wouldn't find themselves feeling comfortable in a typical craft beer brewery, whether that's because the people behind the bar don't look like them or craft beer can be very jargony and elitist. And, you know, we want people to walk in and feel like, I don't know what a hop is, but I'm curious. And so far, our theory and our hypothesis has proven out. We're still making beers that are, I don't know how to say this, but they're mainstream for craft beer. Like hazy IPs aren't new, right? They've been around for probably almost 10 years, starting with places like Heady Topper. But if you haven't delved into craft beer, you might still think that most IPAs are like Lagunitas or a Sierra Nevada Pale Ale, and craft beer is for you. So we kind of view ourselves as the gateway to craft beer. And if we can share and convert someone from being a hard seltzer White Claw drinker or a hard cider drinker to get them to drink beer, that's a win for us. Whether or not they stay with Talea and keep drinking our beers and our more esoteric styles, that's great. Or if they just become a craft beer consumer in New York City, that's great too.
Interesting. Now,
I just had I just had a friend from upstate New York who messaged me and she had seen the show and she was like, man, I really wish I was like into beer and IPAs. And now I think I know exactly where to send her.
Yeah. Yeah. I actually have a friend who I work with, and she's in the New York City area. And I was like, you need to go to this place. And she's like, oh my gosh, they have yoga on Saturdays. She's like, oh, I'm going there this weekend. Like, she's so excited.
You're actually currently talking to my only two friends, so I don't have any leg to stand on.
I mean, Vero, you guys at least have like a tumultuous relationship, but it's a
love-hate. Yeah.
I did notice that you open up at 9 a.m. every day. What was kind of the thought process behind that?
Yeah, we have cold brew and hot coffee and breakfast tacos that we buy from a woman-owned local taco place called King David's. we're in a neighborhood, an area of Williamsburg. Williamsburg's actually pretty big, and downtown Williamsburg, which is where like Warby Parker is, and Tend, the new millennial dentist place, is, like, that's pretty far from us. It's probably a 20-25 minute walk. And over by where we are, there are a lot of residential buildings, and we always wanted to be an amenity to the neighborhood. So we have a lot of, especially with the pandemic and opening during the pandemic, we have a lot of locals who come and bring their laptop and work during the day, and then go grab lunch and come back and then have a beer and finish up their workday. And that was always part of the vision. We're definitely not a lucrative coffee shop. It's more of a break-even situation.
It's hard to do that in Williamsburg, I think.
Yeah. But I mean, there are so many places that actually do espresso drinks. But I think that goes to being more than just a beer brand. The reason we have yoga, we don't really make money on yoga, but we want people to think of us as more than just a place to go and get drunk. And that includes building a lifestyle brand that fits into all sorts of points in people's life or points in people's day, whether it's like, taking your stroller on a walk in the morning and picking up a coffee, or coming and bringing your dog for happy hour when, we're doing a yappy hour next week with a pet portrait artist, and giving out free dog treats. I think a lot of businesses are looking towards those kind of activations to bring people in, because it is a good way to get foot traffic. But for us, it's more than just foot traffic. It's like, we want to be part of people's lives and part of people's evolving lives. So we have lots of non-alcoholic options. We have food, which is honestly really, it's a pain in the ass to serve food. But we have cheese plates, charcuterie boards, and a Mediterranean plate. So it's, again, goes back to being like an amenity to the neighborhood and an amenity to our customers who are coming in. We're not going to replace anyone's dinner, but like, we've all had, one beer on an empty stomach and thought like, I should really have some food, especially as we get older. So yeah, it's all sort of the different, you're bringing up a lot of the softer aspects and the other facets of the brand that really beer's the main thing, but those are all the different textures of who we are.
Yeah, and I love, honestly, so we talked to a lot of folks, and we've talked to a lot of people locally or even on the show, but I think, honestly, that may be the first time I've heard the idea of just being an amenity to the community that you're in, not necessarily, I'm just trying to drive traffic, I'm just trying to drive business, I'm just trying to, like, I want the neighborhood to be better because we exist here, because then organically the business will take care of itself, which is, it's a great idea.
The local spot, which is important for like maintaining that like core customer base, and then every one of those people in theory has friends that they can talk to about it as well.
Well, yeah, well, my two are here, so everyone in theory. Hey, we should do trivia.
Yeah,
should we get into trivia?
Yeah, let's do it.
It's been like 30 minutes of
yeah, I know, and I'm gonna drink this damn beer here shortly.
History and facts.
Thank you, Phil.
Should we just start?
Yeah, I think so. So for those of you who aren't normally with us, or if this is your first time, this is normally the part of the show where we'll do a little bit of trivia with our guest. We're also going to crack the beer open a little bit early just to give us some time to have a good portion of it so that we can understand what we're tasting. So that we can talk about that at the end of trivia as well.
You're doing the Sun Up, which is the one we like advertised that we're gonna do. I'm gonna drink the Plumberry, the Tart Deco.
I mean, I'm gonna try that as well.
Yeah. It's hold on.
And I'm gonna 2-beer fill it over here and have 2.
I'm obviously not a weather person.
No, you're not. You're like way out of the screen.
Yeah.
All right.
So let's get into some of this trivia.
I dare you.
And I'm drinking something totally different because I didn't have either of those in my personal fridge, but I'm drinking basically pumpkin. It's our autumn ale brewed with pumpkin pie spice.
Vero,
You appeal so much to my pumpkin heart. Like,
All right.
Okay.
Tiffany,
Right.
take it away.
So, one, I'd like to point out my grammatical error. I'm pretty sure Talea needs to be capitalized. All letters. Nope. That's just the.
Oh, I
beginning.
see what you're saying. Yeah,
So pretend like I did what I, usually do and mess up on these. So when did Talea first open its doors for their flagship brewery and tap room in Williamsburg, Brooklyn? So November 2019, March 2020, November 2020, or March 2021? Answer in the comments. If you are logged into YouTube, you can play along with us.
Yeah.
There is a delay, so I usually sit here and try and talk for a little bit.
I know. Or I'll just talk about how much we answered this question and I was paying attention.
This is a very pretty color. God, I'm the worst weather person.
I know.
It's very pretty.
So when did they first open the doors to the tap room? Not when did we actually start? Okay. Well, Vero says D. So the chances are, if I stick with Vero, she's only let me down like once.
I'm going to go with D as well because I'm hoping that
You always go with D.
That's true. This is very true. But it's also because I'm hoping that I hope this brewery didn't exist for the few years that I lived in New York City and I moved out right as it was kind of opening. And so
that would make good sense.
I won't feel as bad about having missed out on this.
It is D.
Oh, thank God.
So you opened up a brewery this year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow.
Like, yeah, that's the most like brazen, like that is crazy. And it's
amazing.
So that means like so much of your planning took place over the pandemic, which also has to be one of the scariest things I can think of doing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's funny because people will say like, oh, wow, you're so brave opening a brewery in the pandemic. And it's like, I quit my job a year before the pandemic started, so
I was not brave. I did not choose to do that.
Like, we signed the lease on our 9,000 square foot space in Williamsburg in November 2019. So we really didn't have a choice but to build it. And, actually the timing of our opening was accidentally serendipitous because we opened right as New York City was allowing 25% capacity inside and people were just getting vaccinated and being in a public facing job, like serving or bartending, our staff could get vaccinated. And it was just starting to get warmer. Like March is still cold, April's still cold, but May starts warming up in New York City. So, yeah, I mean, it was crazy. Our landlord is amazing. We're really close with him, even though he owns hundreds of properties in Brooklyn. And he, helped us spread out some of our rent costs. And we applied for every government program that we could. And so we did prevail and we opened not so late, but I think it was scary for us because our general contractor and our architect both, they work together and serve a lot of hospitality clients. And so the rest of their revenue basically dried up when people aren't going to open a fourth space if they had to close down their first three during COVID. So I think they had a really rough go of it when they had to like furlough staff at the beginning of COVID, which everything slowed down March to June last year. But yeah, we opened and, it's an ever-changing target with COVID still here in New York. But
yeah, I was going to say it probably hasn't, like, it's still like a wild animal to deal with it up there versus down here. So
yeah, there's so much space down here that like it wasn't really an issue.
I mean, no, it was an issue. But
it was easy to
You're not that far south.
Right.
Well, it was true story.
We're not Brian Lowndes.
We are the state itself is like over 81% vaccinated.
Yeah.
We're like the most vaccinated southern state.
Yeah, I wouldn't throw,
but no. Anyway, sorry, continue with true or false. So Here we go. I capitalized it in this one. All right. The name Talea came from a mashup of the owners' names. True or false?
I mean, I can see one of the owners' names on my screen.
I mean, so could everybody else.
And that's
and maybe I knew that she was going to join us. And
but I also see the other owner's name in there as well. So
right. Yeah.
I'm gonna
go with true. Yeah.
So did Vero. Vero went totally true.
I know. I waited till she answered.
Of course.
So is it true?
Yes, it is. So, Tara, how long did it take you to come up with that, or was that just something?
Was this like a Mitch Hedberg moment?
No.
Like single tree, nope, double tree. Damn it.
No, or was it like a celebrity mashup? Like, what's our names together? Like,
oh, like Bennifer.
Yeah, exactly.
No, it took quite a while because brewery trademarks compete with wine, spirits, and energy drinks. So even if you're like, hey, we're a woman-owned brand, we're not gonna call our beer Arrogant Bastard, for example, you're still competing with every wine brand who named their wine like Artemis or the Muse or blah blah blah. So
so was Liata already taken?
Yeah, I mean, I just don't think that flows as well. But,
yeah, honestly, I wouldn't even send you an email if it was like, hey, we're gonna have this beer from Liata. No, we're not. No, we're not.
I mean, if it's a good beer,
I'm glad you workshopped that one. Went the opposite direction.
Yeah,
and good for you for getting the front half of that. You know.
Yeah.
Did some design thinking, a lot of Post-it notes.
But 3 out of the 5 letters are Leanne's name, I guess. I mean, I have 2 A's in my name, so But yeah, I think it's still a little weird if I think about it too much to, realize that we made up a word to combine our names. I just think that's I think a lot of men wouldn't have a problem naming a company after themselves, and it still feels a little self-aggrandizing in a way, but we always knew we wanted to have multiple locations. And if you named a brewery like Williamsburg Brewery, are you going to open Williamsburg Brewery in Connecticut? No. So
there's a Williamsburg in Virginia that you could open in.
Yeah, the two places though.
That's it though. Yeah.
I mean, I say more power to you for naming it after yourself. Like, you've done so much work. You've done, and I think the name is great. Like, the name has this, like, it's not feminine, but it's not masculine too. It's got kind of like a cool everybody type name. So as I break glass.
Yeah.
So well done. That's my opinion. Means a lot.
Which normally we don't get into much on this show. So congratulations.
I'll
30
go back
episodes.
on mute.
This is the first.
Yeah. First time he's ever shared.
Phil, we'll get to your can art later.
All right. So what percentage of breweries across the United States are women owned? 1%, 2%, 5%, or 10%?
Oh, I hate this question so much.
I know, I do as well.
It's unfortunate that the highest number is 10%.
Well, that was going to be my one thing. Like, these are all low numbers. Right. Number one. Number two, any of these answers is a travesty. But that being said, I'm going to go with 2, B.
Going with B. I'm going to hope for the best and go with. I hate that. Okay, I was about to say I'm going to hope for the best.
Yeah, I love that you're an
But I was going to go with C.
God, I hope it's 10.
But I was still going to go with C. That is awful. But I'm going to stick to it because that's what I was saying. Mm-hmm. Obviously, the best is not on the board.
So, let's see. So Vero said less than 2%. So
Gabriel, coming his triumphant return, he agrees with me. Welcome to being wrong.
So according to a September 2021 Forbes article that I pulled up, it is 2%. It's 160 out of 8,000 breweries are women owned. So it ends up being like every 1 out of 3 breweries is owned by like women. Like, and that's just women, not like a male and a female.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm sure there's other percentages there, but yeah, not you're a small number of breweries, and I'm sorry. So, I guess, and that kind of was one of my questions is like, so, obviously there's always gonna be challenges of like being the only, female owned brewery in your area, or like, 1 out of a 3 number across the entire United States. And I know I read about like challenges with like getting funding and stuff. But like, I don't know, sometimes there's like advantages to being like on the flip side of that, right? So, kind of what's been the experience, and how have you leveraged the good with the bad?
Yeah. I think the updated stat is 2.9% that just came out from Brewers Association, which is obviously still,
thanks to you. You brought it up.
Actually, we did fill out that survey. But that doesn't include, that's just purely, only woman controlled. So if you include breweries that have a female co-founder, I think that's closer to 20 or 30%. Like there are a lot of husband-wife couples who own breweries, like, Trillium and Burial. But yeah, it's a male-dominated field, and there is so much there to unpack. Everything from like breweries not being safe for women to work in, not just from a Me Too movement, but just the physical restrictions that women have, being like, I'm 5'4", I can't reach something that's on the top of a metro rack, like,
right.
Or 5'3" actually. So I'm even worse.
I've got one. Oh, my hair.
Yeah, exactly. If I do a high bun, then I'm but yeah, I guess the advantages are that even though the average person in New York City even the average beer drinker or person who comes to us has no idea that there's been this sort of revolution of social justice for women in our industry. Most people don't know about Rat Magnet and the Me Too movement of craft beer, but most people who come to our brewery, I think, do know that we're a woman-owned company and are coming there to support that, whether they're male, female, or non-binary. So that's definitely been a really easy point for our publicists to promote, and it's very attractive to publications who know that beer is male dominated. I think that's really the only advantage that we've gotten, because fundraising from the people who we fundraised from, which is mostly friends and family, like they're fundraising because it's us, not just because we're women, but because of our background and our approach to the business. I think the other advantage is that a lot of people who've worked in hospitality for a while don't want to work in a typical hospitality environment anymore. There's a lot of sexism in the restaurant world, and I've had one employee tell me, like, this is the first job where they felt safe, where there wasn't someone creepy in management. Because we have mostly an all-female management team, really. And, we just, like, no one drinks on the job. No one has ulterior motives. And so, that's sad on one hand, but the fact that we can attract really great talent and people who want to grow with us and aren't just there for the job because they believe in the mission, that's I think a silver lining for us.
No. Yeah.
I think that's one of always the important things. Like if your actual staff and in-house people are on board and feel comfortable and have a great job, like that does so many good things for a business or for a brand, like regardless of where you're coming from or who you are. Like if you built a business and everyone's there and everyone backs it, there's a good reason for that.
Right. Well, and then you've also got like the support. So when you have like a customer that comes in and isn't as supportive, like you have a management team that backs up, whoever's facing that discrimination, or, whether it's like me and my Sunday experience with our anyway, it could be, a customer facing like a discrimination as well. and you have got like the whole management team there to, be supportive and not make it into to anything more than needs to be of just like, okay, well, you've had enough and it's time for you to leave. Thank you. So, but yeah, it's sad that like the beer industry is still one of the last remaining like sexist industries. Like there's still a lot of them, and there's still a lot of industries that are like getting better. But like, I mean, you mentioned like arrogant bastard, like as a like beer name, and then there's like raging bitch, and there's like so many that are, they're terrible names. They're terrible beer names. So anyway, sorry. Yeah. I'll get off my soapbox.
No, this is your soapbox. Go for it. Good Lord.
The last thing I'm going to do right now is tell you to be quiet.
I 100%. For the record, we do have
a rambling Tiffany card.
We do have a rambling Tiffany one, which I thought Phil was going to pull up during that. And I was like, Phil, dude, you were such a jerk.
Yeah, I brought it up once and I felt terrible. And I've never brought it up again.
I think it's only happened like
it
once.
was like in an early show. And I don't know if Vero talked to you about it or if you just figured it out on your own.
I figured it out on my own. I felt terrible the second I did it.
I do have a.
Well, you can't do it after what I just said. I mean, that would just be, I can't do that.
I ramble. It's but all right. So we have like a bunch more trivia questions, but none of them are like key. Like one of them was about the Sun Up like flavor profile. So let's just talk about that one.
Yeah, let's get into the beer.
Yeah.
I dare you.
All right. So tell us about Sun Up. What are we drinking? What are we tasting? We like to hear it from you rather than having us guess and be wrong.
Yeah, Sun Up is our flagship hazy IPA. It's our flagship beer. It's the first beer we ever brewed back in April 2019 when we were contract brewing at a neighbor brewery up in the Bronx. It's 6.5%. It is brewed with lactose, so it has a little bit of residual sugar, a pretty complicated malt bill that has like oats, raw wheat, and other things to add a lot of body and proteins. The hop bill is about 50-50 Mosaic and Idaho 7. So we're only Whirlpool hopping and dry hopping, no bittering hops. And yeah, it's always one of our best sellers. It's now available in New York City Whole Foods, Long Island Whole Foods, and Westchester Whole Foods, in addition to New York City Trader Joe's, and soon a couple of Costco's in New York City, and like a bunch of beer bars and beer boutiques. But in terms of
but the big box store, like good Lord.
So you did achieve your goal of getting a beer in Whole Foods.
This is
exactly,
which is awesome.
Yeah.
It's so it's funny that you mentioned that there's lactose and
I'm lactose intolerant. I gotta go.
No. And that you're also keeping some of the bittering hops out, because that's like I couldn't place it when I first started tasting it, but it's the lactose and the lack of the bitter, like really bitter IPA taste. I was like, something's in between here, and I can't figure it out. But yeah, lactose especially, like that's.
Well, it's
really
used
calm,
in a lot
really
of beers
easy
to like reduce some of the bitterness already. So when you don't have it in there in the first place, it just makes it like creamy. Like it's a much smoother texture, I think. But
yeah, our predominant tasting notes for this beer are pineapple and tropical notes. So we don't usually make single hopped beers, so this is an example of combining Mosaic and Idaho 7. But yeah, in our perspective, a lot of people, even if they don't know that they like sweetness, they do, and so lactose just kind of like rounds out the more smoothie dessert qualities. It's not a ton of lactose in this beer, it's more of like a background note, but just building out the body. And most of our beers are pretty low in ABV for a craft beer brewery, so we usually stick in the like 5.5 to 7.5 range. And so adding a little bit of lactose also helps, I think, balance out the alcohol and make it like a more pleasant, easy drinking beer, which goes back to our easy to love philosophy.
Yeah, I was about to say that I think you nailed it with that philosophy and this beer, because that's like the easiest beer to drink. It was delicious. I finished it quite quickly.
Yeah, you really do that one, Phil. That makes me nervous.
Because I want to hear about this one, and I like to hear about them while I drink them. So I'd also want to hear about. So this is Plumberry.
It's very good.
Tart Deco. Wow.
Yeah,
it's super good. Like so, I just tried this one earlier.
I was like, we each opened one.
Yeah.
I'm a can art guy. Apparently, that's what I decided on my show.
Don't say apparently. You are.
All because I called out John Mallett. I've become a can art guy.
Like episode 9.
I love this. I absolutely love this can art. It's so cool. Yeah. Everything. I like both of them. They're.
I know awesome. That was one of the things I read was, when you're there at like the grocery store, like especially as like a female buyer, like definitely more drawn to like the can art that's like pop art or like things that like stick out or
you hear that, Phil?
Colorful. Listen, Phil is
as a female buyer, you're more drawn to the can art. I just want you to hear yourself.
I'm just saying, like, if you don't know what you're looking for,
I'll own it.
Especially if you don't know what you're looking for.
No,
like, so, like, you or I, like, we go in, our Untapped is pulled up.
Well, I mean,
like,
even,
what do we not have?
Even when we don't have it pulled out, I'm still, can art is huge.
Right. Well, and we actually, for how many beers we've had, like, we usually, like, oh, no, I'm pretty sure we've had that one. Like, somehow I remember.
I got a lot of free time.
A big number of beers.
Yeah. Okay, so before I take a sip, I'm going to tell you ahead of time. I'm not a huge sour beer fan. Am I still going to enjoy this?
Yes.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah, definitely. I mean, we don't, we have not yet made like a wild ferment sour. So all of our beers are kettle soured.
Right.
This is one of the first 2 sours we made the summer after we started brewing. So back in this style. So this is a series. It's the series is called Tart Deco. We have our own vernacular, but basically Tart Deco is our sour IPA series. They're all 7.5%. They're all really full bodied. Again, like a really complex layered malt bill, plus a lot of lactose to add the sweetness and body, and a really high fruiting rate. So 2.25 pounds per barrel of fruit or per gallon of fruit. So what that means to us is that whatever fruit we put in this, we expect that anyone drinking it would be able to really taste those exact fruits. And that for this series, we always add really fleshy fruit. So this is plums, passion fruit, and blackberry. And the fleshier fruits like passion fruit and plum are adding fiber and texture to it.
So Vero says that this beer is the love child of a sparkling rosé and a juicy IPA, which...
For somebody's from Argentina, though, she forgot the little accent mark over the E.
You still...
Starting it out there. If y'all going to correct my grammar, I will also correct yours.
You and Vero have such an interesting relationship.
And for the record, you were correct. I very much enjoyed it.
Yeah, so I think I think the fruit forward and the lactose involved in it, it really takes a lot of the sharp like sour off of it, which I think is what most people who don't like a sour don't like.
Well,
in my experience.
Yeah, like and I mean, you mentioned earlier, it's more closely related to a smoothie than it is like the traditional sours that you get where you're like, I can't, like, it's like immediate heartburn. Like it's very much so a thicker like fruit smoothie.
Yeah, I dig it.
So
yeah,
it's like fruit juice. I'm a big fan.
Yeah. I think that, Daniel, when you were saying sharpness of a sour, I think that's exactly it. It's cut on this. Yeah. And so that makes it so much easier to drink. But it's still sour, which I love.
Oh, yeah. End of the week.
But it's not like painfully sour, which is great.
It's not like a Warhead beer. I think we reviewed those.
Those were terrible.
We asked them on the show and they just never showed up.
Never showed up.
Thank goodness.
His head exploded.
We ripped those beers apart.
Yeah, I mean, I think sours, like, it's so funny because there's almost like a barbell in my mind with sours where a beer like this is, I think, so incredibly approachable to someone who says, I don't like beer, but I like cocktails or I like wine. on the flip side, the sours that are bone dry and like fermented with Brett or have wild ferments, they're both dry and they're funky. And funky is such an acquired taste that it's like you have to go all the way down the craft beer funnel to get there. And
Yeah.
So I think a lot of people, the same way people think they don't like IPAs because they're too bitter because all they've ever had are Stone or Lagunitas, the people who don't like sours, they probably like, I don't know, had a sip of a sour that someone had in a bottle that was like a Belgian sour that is,
just face puckering and like just it is sour.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. All right. So is there anything else that you all have coming up that you want to like advertise, or any other notes that I feel like we didn't like talk about? Because Daniel has butted my leg and told me it's been an hour and we're holding you up.
It's been an hour. So, yeah, please.
You can't see, but his knee keeps hitting me.
No, I mean, it's been great to chat with you all. I think if you want to stay up to date with the programming at Talea or new releases, you can follow us on Instagram at Talea Beer. Every week we have new things like food pop-ups. We have an egg roll pop-up tomorrow and a gourmet sandwich pop-up on Saturday. We're doing different classes. We have a manicure and beer mimosas event a couple of Sundays from now. We do Saturday morning taproom yoga. So lots of fun stuff. And we're brewing new beers every week and packaging every week now. So we have our first stout coming up in a couple of weeks. And we'll also be launching a beer club for New York City locals who want to pick up beer on a monthly basis and sort of like a wine club model. So
yes, that's actually a really good idea.
Thank you for giving me another reason to regret leaving New York City.
Right. My question is, how's your merch game? If I wanted to, let's say, procure a hat, which is my thing, do you guys have hats? Do you have shirts? Do you have merch? Can I get it online?
You can't get it online yet, but we are soon launching a merch store. We do have all that stuff, but the focus has been the beer for the last 6 months, and now we're excited to get into this next phase of continuing to give people reasons to stop by the brewery and feel at one with the brand, whether that's wearing like a great running jersey or getting a reusable Talea mug and all of that. So yeah, please follow us on Instagram or sign up for our newsletter on the website. We send emails every week with all the updates. But it was a pleasure chatting with you all. And, we have a lot of other beers. So if these weren't your style, I think you liked them, but
100%. Yeah, absolutely.
They're both fantastic beers. And from everything
I'll be giving it a 2 though, just to level everyone else off.
But no, everything I've read is you guys haven't missed. So, I mean, congrats for making it through the pandemic with everything that you had to deal with between having twins and opening a brewery and everything. Like, just kudos to you. And then keeping like true to the beer that you guys had been brewing. And just, I mean, they're all great. So I appreciate you coming on the show
cheers
too.
To that.
Yeah. So cheers. And everyone make sure to follow them on social media and sign up for their newsletter. So
well, thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks. Take care.
Thanks.
All right. Bye.
All right. So let's get this
Daniel
review.
Has to pee.
Oh, I 100% have to pee, but I'm actually doing pretty good. Like good. I'm holding up okay. All right. So let's get into
the review.
First of all, I love having people on, right? No matter where they come from or who they're like. People make beer, and it's amazing to me. And what a great story! I love all this shit. Let's go through the beer, though. Okay,
so we are reviewing Talea Sun Up
Do you
It's
guys
all
want to
capitalized.
also review Talea Tart Deco?
I
Yeah,
mean,
the Plumberry
we have
Tart
I
both.
Deco.
kind of feel like we should just double up tonight.
Yeah, let's do both. All right,
Phil,
so
I keep trying
let's
to,
start-
but I keep
hold
getting
on.
shot down.
starting with Talea Sun Up.
Sun Up.
They're hazy. God, never mind.
Yeah, just stop. The
I'm
light's too
never
bright.
gonna be a weather person.
No.
Okay, so with the sun up, I'll start. I like it. Which when I read the notes on it, I wasn't sure if I was going to, because of the lactose aspect. Because
And pineapple. That's usually
yeah, I mean, I'm okay. Like pineapple's not my like favorite, but it doesn't bother me either. But it was a lot better than I expected it to be, based off of the tasting notes. It's really smooth. It's really easy.
Yeah.
And I think I agree with the mission statement. There was probably a gateway craft beer IPA, which is exactly what they set out to do, which is why it's a flagship.
Right.
So I'm gonna go with 3.75.
All right, Tiffany.
Similarly, I'm gonna go with the 3.75 just so we can get the math game going. So you can start that.
No, I mean you can.
But I mean, like, talk about it.
Oh.
So hazy IPAs, I was really into them for a while when I first discovered them, and then the like hazy flavor, it kind of, I don't know how to describe it, but it's very specific to hazies, and some hazies overdo it, and some are like keep it level. This one is well within that level of you can still taste the haziness, but it's not like stick on the back of your tongue flavor. I really like the pineapple. I literally cut open pineapple today, so kind of my jam. I cut open a pineapple today.
Okay, that is a tough sentence.
Yeah. So
would you guys think that your scores are 3.75 due to the fact that
it's due to the fact that I liked this one better.
Correct.
It's 100% me.
So you're just comparing it to the two.
No. So you know me.
Right.
So for me, I'm always comparing a hazy IPA against a hazy IPA.
I think it's better than most hazy IPAs, though. I think I just really wanted to rate this one first.
I like hazy IPAs though. So
Can I change it?
Yeah, of course.
I'll go to a 4.
Official score hasn't gone through yet. So.
Right. Well, because
even when it does, you can go to the website and change it.
So like I said, those other hazies that definitely overdo the haziness, and I think this one's a good base level.
Okay.
Yeah, I just want to preface it with 3.75 is not.
It is a good score.
Correct.
Right.
I'm
100%.
not. I just want to make sure we're not comparing know Alien to Terminator. Terminator is a good score, but Alien.
I think I'm surprised because for me it's a 4.25 easy.
Oh, nice.
Okay. I think that, and that's why I was kind of wondering because you guys, your numbers on Untapped are higher than mine. You've been around
because we have more.
Been around a little bit longer than I have with beers. So what I'm saying is I think the beer is more designed for someone like me, where maybe it might not be designed for someone who has drank a ton of beers and is really.
Well, let's not get into counting numbers.
Correct.
Of beers.
Untapped shows your numbers, so you can't pretend like you don't.
So does Jenny Craig, Phil, but we're not allowed to talk about those numbers.
But basically what I'm saying is I think that the beer was designed for someone who isn't a experienced beer drinker. And so for me, I'm going, I could give that beer to someone who says, I don't like IPAs. I'd be like, boom. Right. And they would be like, holy crap, I like IPAs now. And then they're going to drink that beer for a while. Then they're going to switch to something a little more bitter. And then they're going to slowly get into the oh my gosh, I love IPAs.
Eventually they're going to be into the Sierra Nevada Pale Ales, just
exactly. And so I think what they're doing with that beer is they're basically trying to get people into beer, and I think they nailed it. So I give it a 4.25 for that.
Fair.
No, that is a really valid point.
So that puts the show score at an even 4.
Show score of 3.97.
No,
4. Well, I guess we're rounding up.
No, I said a 4, and then he said.
Okay.
That's why I'm the one I need to just always go last because I can help mitigate it. Okay, next one.
Now
let's go into this one now.
Plumberry.
I like this one a shit ton.
Oh, it's delicious.
Yeah, this one's a 4 for me.
This one's a Ooh.
You go for you, boo. Well, it's this one, not that one.
I know. I'm just saying this one because we're talking about. I'm not.
Yeah, this is a 4 for me, which from the sour game
Is-
is an extremely high rating for a sour beer for me.
Hold on, let me taste it again.
I'll go, since I'll go
Thank
second
you.
this time. I'm right there with you. I think a 4. As a non-sour fan,
Yep.
I like the fact that it actually is kind of it's sour,
Right.
like, but it doesn't kill you with sour. You know, I feel like we've played that game of like, oh, you're gonna call this a sour, but then it's not sour.
Right.
And then we played the game with Warheads where it's like it's a sour and now it's like
Oh, you're
stupidly
super sour, but you're not anything.
Right. It was
Yeah.
just sugar water, and I was like, I don't know. This is.
And to me, this is exactly what I want in a sour. So
Yeah.
This
it's a
one
4
is
as
like
well.
the ideal for me. Like this one is the ideal like summer beer
Yeah.
because it is like refreshing. It's not heavy, even though it is like a thicker body to it because it is kind of more of a smoothie style. But it's like that, like, I don't know, it reminds me of like summer and like fresh fruits and things that you would usually get during the summer.
Yep.
I think I'm gonna go with the 4.25 on this one.
Ooh.
Because it is really good. And like I said, it's hard for me. Don't get me wrong. I like this one, but that one is my jam.
Yeah. Well,
While you're still holding it, can we trade?
Yeah.
Thanks.
Well, so for everyone watching, if you do want to try this beer, which I highly recommend you try
Yes.
both of them,
Or anything
Tavor,
they have.
you can get it on Tavor right now.
Yep.
Which I assume if you're on Tavor, you can get it where Tavor delivers, or is it like a statewide thing? I don't know.
No, it should be wherever they deliver.
So-
Sometimes the options are different depending on where you are.
So I say get on Tavor if you want a discount. That we do have a code in the description.
What?
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
And if
Okay.
you don't have Tavor, you can't find Talea, you need to find a friend in New York City.
Yes.
There's like 11 million of them. So just start hitting them up on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, whatever.
I feel like I've made this pretty known to everyone, but my 2 friends are here. So, no.
And neither one of them are in New York. So, but no, don't ship things illegally per
Okay, good talk.
the UPS
So
store.
these are 2 great beers, great show. I was so happy to hear the story of it all. Great
Okay.
can art. I have nothing bad to say about this.
No, that's good.
Tara's fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely.
I gotta look up my wish you were beer. I wrote
Nope,
it down.
we're gonna skip
Also,
that.
do I get her sweatshirt? I
No.
want one of those sweatshirts.
No, you don't.
I know I want that sweater so bad. I was like,
Listen, we're an hour and 10 in. Why don't we just promote next week? Save your wish of your beer for. It's in. I
Just go
haven't
pee.
peed yet at all.
You said the title.
Sorry, what? I was just
Uh,
arguing about peeing.
Is that what you wish was beer? A toilet so you could pee in it right now?
No, Phil. I have a wish you were beer, unlike you 2 people. That's why I was trying to give y'all a favor.
I know. Go quick. Daniel, what's your wish you were beer?
Oh,
This is the part of the show where we talk about something that we wish was beer that isn't beer, because for either positive or negative reasons, just an excuse to talk about something other than beer for a second.
no problem.
Daniel.
Tiffany. Oh,
I
me
got
first?
it. I pulled it up. I have it.
Go ahead.
So my wish for your beer this week is diet culture. So for those of you who are not living under a rock, there's been a big thing about how Facebook and Instagram and their algorithms are specifically targeting like especially younger women and girls and like creating a diet culture that is extremely unhealthy.
And unsustainable. Good lord.
Yeah. And so my like thing is like, so everyone has a favorite type of beer and every beer is different. Just because I like this one, this like the Tart Deco. Ooh,
I have to
Plumberry
like
Tart
a tart
Deco.
berry. I know.
Stop it. But just because I like this one at 4.25 doesn't mean that's everyone's favorite, but it's good and it's different. And I think every body should be appreciated in the same manner. There's a body out there for everyone and there's a beer out there for everyone. There's no reason we should all be trying to be hazy IPAs or whatever. Also, butt implants are the biggest.
Well, they're the biggest.
No, like they're the.
Oh, I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying.
Like they're the highest whatever. Like that's the.
But man,
hot
are they comfortable.
But no,
You
and
gotta
they're
be
killing
behind
people.
calf implants.
They're killing people. Like there are people who are dying like left and right from these butt implants because they're not being done safely, and it's freaking dumb.
So, moral of the story: get your butt implant safely.
No, don't do it.
Not from
Just
Ricky
appreciate what
down
you
the
have.
street.
Appreciate what you have. Don't try and be someone you're not.
Daniel,
yourself
wish you
with a
were
brother.
beer.
Would you like mine to be quick or
Quick.
long-winded?
We're we're over.
Well, I thought I mentioned that earlier, but
Well,
here
we
we
still
go.
have to go through our segments.
I hate to be the producer on this shit, but wrap it up, B. I actually just wish internet sleuthing was beer because, okay, guys, I know there's a scar on the guy's forehead you think is a Zodiac killer, but you didn't do 5 minutes of Facebook research and prove the FBI wrong, Hoss. Go get a fucking beer, relax, enjoy your night. Stop mashing up pictures of who you think you used to live by, who was kind of abusive, maybe in the 70s to what
I think
you thought
Daniel
was
might be the
abusive.
Zodiac killer, and they're getting close. I think they're getting nervous.
I think he's a little young, unless he's lied about his age.
What about this scar on my forehead?
Wouldn't be the first
I'm
thing
just,
to
it's
lie
so
about.
fucking stupid. Calm down, internet. You can't fix everything. You're never gonna solve all the mysteries. That's all.
Right.
What's your wish you were beer, Phil?
I wish that scary spiders were beer because I have a garden, a vegetable garden at this new place, which is fantastic. We're growing some eggplants, some peppers, some tomatoes. Nice. It's great.
Nice.
Got an avocado tree, so it's great. And so I'm outside like digging through. I'm like, oh, this is great. But there's so many scary spiders.
Wait, do you have 2 avocado trees or just one?
One big avocado.
Don't cross-pollinate him.
Is it producing fruit?
Yes. It has avocados on it.
Send me some avocados.
We accidentally cut down an avocado tree in our yard a couple
Because you
years
didn't know
ago.
it was an avocado tree?
Did not know it was an avocado tree until the
I
neighbor.
didn't know this one was an avocado tree because it's this huge tree in the middle of the yard. And I was like, this is a weird place to have a tree.
Yeah,
and then I looked up and I was like, oh my gosh, avocados. Because it's avocado, the end of avocado season right now.
Yeah, there was no avocados. I had lived here for a couple years already.
Oh my gosh,
and it was in the middle.
It
It was in the middle of like our chicken run. And we're like, we can't have this in the chicken run.
You can't mention Wallace and Gromit. They're copyrighted.
Okay, hold on. Vero's wish you were beer is catcalling. If it were beer, I would enjoy the beverage and then throw the can at the perv. Win-win. I'm for it.
Good to know, Vero.
I do love that Vera in that was like, I'd still drink the beer first.
Yeah, I gotta drink the beer.
Like,
Why waste it?
Your thought process is
But
she's like, well, I'm not going to waste the beer on this jerk.
No.
Right.
No.
Right.
Throw the can at him.
I'm for it.
What
all
are we
right.
doing?
Well, one of us has to pee. So what are we doing next week?
Next week, we are doing Hidden Vision from
Oh,
Decker.
fuck. I forgot we're doing that.
Yeah. So this was one of the ones we actually picked up from Early Birds in Pocosin.
Yeah, the
it's
bottle
a
shop.
new bottle shop.
Yeah.
And it was not
I think
cheap.
it's Trekker, though. Right?
Is it Drecker? Yeah, I think
Oh,
you
did I
forgot
forget an
R.
R?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, that R was hidden from your vision. See what I did there?
Hey.
Hey, we're doing a
Good
beer show, you
I did
guys.
it on purpose so you can make that joke.
Okay. Well.
Oh, you're gonna take us out?
No.
Please
No,
I'm
do.
not allowed to.
Yeah, take us out.
Thanks for joining.
That's it. That's your out.
No. Make sure to follow us on Instagram. Follow us on our individual untaps, our show untaps. Like us on Facebook. Subscribe to us on YouTube because eventually we're gonna get there and we're gonna make money and not have to work for reals. If you use Tavor, please use our link. We also have a Beer Drop link we didn't really talk about, but it's because we didn't get the beer from Beer Drop. So there's $10 for you, $10 for Phil.
Oh, and if you saw us on Twitter tonight, because we were live on Twitter for the first time, give us a like and a retweet.
Thank you.
And DM Daniel because he runs that account.
That's me, and you
Yeah,
get
if you want nudes, DM Daniel.
send new, or I'll send. It's not important.
Okay. But yeah, did I miss anything?
No, I think it's Phil's OnlyFans, and after that,
Oh yeah.
It's literally his box fans
box fans.
because he's in an empty apartment and it's real hot.
Yeah, I need some money to fill this apartment.
But yeah, and if you liked us, let us know. Make sure to join us next week. And if you're logged into YouTube, you can comment along and tell us what you're drinking, even if you don't have the Drecker beer that we're going to do next week.
And if you're in New York, go to Talea because this beer is
True
phenomenal.
story.
True story.
Also, if you're a man, don't be a dick.